notify the chair ahead of time so that we can, put it on the agenda. We did put it on the agenda this time, but I would like to restate that if there, especially if a commissioner is going to videotape the meeting that he sent to me as an agenda item, so that we can put it on the agenda notice. Fourth item on the agenda is the Tenants Association.
Okay, we've started doing bingo twice a week. Twice a month. We started doing bingo twice a month. We started our birthdays once a month. And this month's, October's meeting has been changed to October 21st because 3 of our people on the board are not feeling well, and I'll be away for 2 Saturdays, so we're going to do it on the 21st this month instead of the first Saturday. I think that's about it for the tenants.
Thank you. Any other comments from the tenants?
I would like to just read a brief prepared statement. We, the residents of T-Rock Garden, Commissioner Pasevich, we have a question for you. Why do you want to be on the Board of Commissioners for the Marshfield Housing Authority when you continue to criticize and make false claims against the board? You continue to claim on your Control Room podcast that you did on 9/13 and 9/27 that you haven't received a copy of the contract agreement between Marshfield Housing Authority and Quincy Housing Authority when you received it at the very latest at the Select Board meeting on 8/31 and was clearly looking at it at that meeting. You claim on 9/13 Control Room podcast that comments you made about a lot of people in public housing are well-to-do if you count their lottery tickets and being so-called disabled were inaccurate and no clear video was presented at the 8/31 Select Board meeting, when in fact a clear clip was played twice at the 8/31 Select Board meeting. Your continued false claims of wrongdoing by the Marshfield Housing Authority goes against what a board commissioner's job is and what you said to the Select Board on 8/31, where you claimed you were going to tone it down. I will end that we request for the good of the Marshfield Housing Authority Board of Commissioners and the betterment of the community as a whole, we respectfully ask that you resign.
Do you want to respond?
No, I don't.
Would you please submit that to the Secretary?
Yep.
Administrative Assistant, Executive Administrative Assistant. Sorry. And do you want that to be part of the minutes?
Yes, I would like it to be part of the minutes.
Are there any other tenant comments? Yes.
Do you think that we could maybe put speed bumps, the removable ones?
Portable speed bump.
Nobody likes to slow
Getting
down.
bad. I think that's something we can look into. We typically don't leave those because of plowing.
Right, but they're removable.
These are portable.
Yeah, they're just those big rubber things.
For the record, I would request that when we have tenants speak, that they give their name, their
Oh.
address, just
Robin.
for the record.
13
So we don't
T-Rock.
speak.
I'm done.
That's fine.
Sorry.
But yes, I will look into that.
Thank you.
This gentleman's name.
My name is Donald Clark, 18 T-Rock Gardens.
Any other questions or comments from the tenants? Okay, thank you. Next item is the approval of the accounts payable and payments. I do have a question on payment number 15569 to Leonardi Array Architects. Which project is that one for? For $6,480.
For the generators, maybe?
I'll have to get back to that one.
Okay, thank you.
I can send that to you by email tomorrow.
All right.
Please CC me on that, because I have a question about that also.
Yep. I'll send it to all of you, actually.
And then payment number 15580.
15580.
Yeah. That dollar amount seems much higher in comparison to all of the other payments that we made to the town of Marshfield. And it's for, a specific address.
So these are water bills.
It is water bill.
Yeah.
Is that for one single family home?
It is, yeah. It could be for 2 quarters. I mean, I can pull that bill if you want. But it is a water bill, yeah.
Yeah, if you don't mind just getting us the details on that.
I'll pull the bill for you.
Thank you. Anybody have any other questions on the account payable?
The only question I had, Mr. Chairman, was on the MHA work orders for July 2023. It's 15572. And again, I apologize, some of these numbers, they don't make a lot of sense to me because I just don't know the workload and the standard workload for that time of year. I don't know if you can help me out in any way to help me understand how the work orders go typically month to month. Because I really don't have a clue.
Which one is that?
15572.
The work orders.
172.
In other words, there's no detail, and I'm not familiar yet with the typical workload.
Are you referring to 15572?
Yes.
So, it's my understanding that the management agency fee, basically that's a set fee that we pay on a monthly basis.
Okay, that's the management fee, right?
Right.
It is cut off there.
$7,829 are for work orders that are actually accomplished here by the maintenance staff for that period of time.
Right. That's what I'm
So
saying.
that's your question, is
Yeah.
what are the work orders?
Right.
What's
So
the breakdown?
you could review those work orders if you would like to. We don't have them attached as part of the normal, board meeting.
Yeah, is it multiple small work orders, or are there any big ticket items or large items in there?
Mostly typical routine work orders, vacancies, turnovers, plumbing invoices, electrical invoices. Usually it's for the trades, the people that are skilled, like I said, plumbers, electricians, and John Kemet is billed through, billed to Marshfield Housing Authority through Quincy Housing Authority. So one of those people is in your budget as a maintenance staff, but he's billed through Quincy to Marshfield. But like you said, if you want to come take a look at the bills are here routinely in the office every month, so any of those invoices can be reviewed.
Thank you. I'll do that.
Any other questions on the accounts payable?
Just a little one. What was music at 15575? It just says music.
That is for the Fall Fest that the Tenants Association is having.
They're going to have it.
Yes.
Okay. Thank
And
you.
I get you an answer on that architect bill. That architect bill is for a building envelope project for both Ocean Street and Caswell Street for an envelope project. It's the designer that's designing the project for DHCD. through the house doctor program,
Okay, thank you.
so.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing that.
We didn't do it today.
Hmm?
We didn't get it there today.
It's possible, sure.
Yeah.
And I'll make a motion to accept the account payable register for payment number 15549 through 15588 for a total amount of $39,152.22.
I'll second it.
Roll call.
Aye, Ellen Bennett.
Celia W. Ryan.
Joseph Jack.
Terry Richardson, yes. Next item is a motion to approve the executive director to submit a high leverage asset preservation program application for funding to Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities for $369,606. Submission of this application will also be contingent upon receiving an approval letter from the Marshfield Local Tenant Organization confirming tenant participation for requested capital needs. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
Could maybe the director possibly give us a quick rundown? For example, again, is this an annual thing?
This is, I don't believe this
Okay.
is.
Okay, we haven't done this before?
Nope. So what this is DHCD offers a grant program where it encourages executive directors to go out and find money for the housing authority through means of either community preservation or lean multifamily grants. It encourages executive directors to try to increase the capital ability of housing authorities through soliciting funds from elsewhere other than the state. So in this case, recently we have received grants in the amount of $369,606. So the money that we got from National Grid, which you folks all approved for the insulation upgrade, that together with the money that we received from the town for generators, that is extra revenue that is being brought in to the housing authority that you otherwise would not have received. So DHCD rewards housing authorities by matching dollar for dollar what you bring in extra into the housing authority. And you apply for this grant through the state agency, and they look at these projects and they look at these applications and they weigh them and they decide on who gets the money and who doesn't get the money. But if you don't apply for it, you can't get it. So, so we're applying for this grant, which encourages DHCD to reward our behavior and to give us an extra $369,000. So it's not a guarantee. It's a application process that we have already completed. And with this, and I'll be sitting down with the tenants to explain to them what the entire process is. And I'll be asking the Tenants Association to bless the application. And then the application will be sent to DHCD for approval.
So the 369 is the sum of the National Grid money and the CPA 200K.
Correct, yep.
All right, thank you.
Any other discussion?
I think that's fantastic, though.
Well, the only comment, I think if we go before the CPC board in the future, we should probably make them aware that we have the opportunity to apply for a grant through EOHLC and not guaranteed that we would get a matching grant, but at least we can make an application for that.
And I just want to bring to the board's attention that in this application, we had to outline what we believe were important items that the Housing Authority would need to do with the $369,000 in the event that we were lucky enough to be chosen to receive it. We had to outline, and that is in your package. It's this budget right here. This is the budget that we're submitting. So,
That budget covers the 369,000, James?
yes, so we're proposing new bathrooms for here at the community room building. We're proposing a new kitchen for the community room, a new kitchen for the community room. We're proposing new floors in the bathrooms. We're proposing a new camera system for the entire Housing Authority. And we're proposing parking lot and curb replacement and repaving of the driveway, whatever part is not being done as part of the septic upgrade project.
Okay, thank you.
Did I see that form that you just referred to, the listing of possible
It should be
projects?
a gadget project, it looks just
I'm
like this.
seeing, I'm seeing the 2-month statement. And
Yeah.
It looks like this.
No, I don't think I have that. No.
Here it is.
I remember reading it last night.
Thank you for explaining that. I was wondering.
Actually, at the back of your package should be.
Yeah, that's what I just looked, I just looked at the back and I saw the 2-month expenses, operating expenses. And I see
It
the
should be
PowerPoint,
right there.
PowerPoint presentation.
You might have had it with this. It's the
Yeah,
back
that's it right
page.
here.
It's the back pages of that after those pages.
Invoice, 927 printout.
No.
Yeah, you can look at that one.
Yeah, I don't think I have it.
I've seen that, it's on the cafe. I don't think that I turned that package apart twice.
Well, I think we should approve the application process. I just wasn't aware that there had been already some outline for where potential grant money could go, so.
We have to do that as part of the application.
Right, and I understand that's what you said. So, I mean, I have really no comment on this. I'm sure these are all needed projects. They look like they're necessary, but I didn't get this.
We didn't even vote.
So, we'll take a vote then to approve the motion.
I agree. Ellen Bennett?
I seconded it. Or, yes, I agree, yeah. That's right, we don't have to vote.
Joe Pasevich, aye.
Kerry Richardson, yes.
This is really good.
Next item is motion for the approval of the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities wage match regulations as noted in Public Housing Notice 2023-03 and 2019-16, indicating all authorized employees have read and signed the wage match acknowledgement regarding confidentiality of information, DOR disclosure and security training for safeguarding information, and that the signed acknowledgements are on file for fiscal year 2024. May I have a second of that motion?
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
Are we timely with that, or are we running a little behind schedule on that? Because I know this is gonna come up further on down on the agenda regarding PHMs and other notifications we get from EOHLC. But I started looking through the notifications, and I thought maybe we were running a little behind schedule on that. Maybe the director knows. We running behind schedule on that?
No, we're fine.
Yeah, okay. And, because I noticed the notice was 2023-03, which is back in, dated March and updated May. And it says you have to turn in the forms within 60 days of the notification, so that's why I was curious if maybe we were running a little behind schedule on that.
Yeah, no, it should be fine.
Should be fine, okay.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call.
Helen Bennett, yes.
Celia Delafield, yes.
Joe Pasovich, aye.
Kerry Richardson, yes. Item 8 on the agenda, discussion of transfer of Marshfield Housing Partnership funds previously held at the Marshfield Housing Authority in 2 separate accounts to the town of Marshfield. I'll discuss that one. The funds from both accounts have been transferred from the Marshfield Housing Authority. The reason there were 2 funds was because initially, when these funds came into the Marshfield Housing Authority, one was under the concept that the funds would be held for construction of affordable housing through the Marshfield Housing Partnership Committee for the creation of affordable housing. And the term creation, the definition of creation, could mean either creation or conversion. The second fund was established in the same manner, but it was for conversion only. And conversion only was a program set up by the Marshfield Housing Partnership Committee on the basis that you would take market rate homes and convert them to affordable housing. And that was accomplished through what was called the MHOP program, through the Marshfield Housing Partnership Committee. So the two funds have been transferred over to the town of Marshfield. Currently, those 2 funds are sitting in one fund. I have asked the town administrator to determine whether or not those 2 funds can be combined into one fund, or if they have to remain in 2 funds. So that's still being determined as to whether or not it can be converted into one fund. Those funds will now be put into the trust that the town of Marshfield created at last town meeting. So before we finalize that, we do have to get information from the town of Marshfield as to whether or not it's going to be allowed to be combined into one fund, or if it'll have to be remain in 2 different funds. And I do have the amount of those funds somewhere in this file, or one of the files. Does anybody want to know the amount? And I'll look for it, or
I'd like to know the
you would like to know the amount? All right. So from let's see. So one fund was $307,504.18. And that came from what was known as the MMDT, which stands for Massachusetts Municipal Depository Trust. The second fund was with the Rockland Trust, and that was for $165,119.72. So a total of about $472,625 approximately.
Which one was the conversion?
Say again?
A total of about
168 and 307?
165 and 307,
165K approximately.
which equals approximately 472,000. And I believe it was the Rockland Trust for 165,000. That would have been conversion, and the 307 would have been creation. Don't hold me to that, but I believe that's what it would have been.
Discussion? But this is just
Sure.
discussion.
Yeah.
No vote here. I did a little research on my own when I first heard about the monies being, that the housing, the new Marshfield Affordable Housing Trust needed, was looking for money. And I found out about an account about $300,000. And based on my I did a public records request. I was told that Mr. Cantwell had the bank statements for the MMDT, the one you just mentioned, the Massachusetts Municipal Trust. And I had a hard time getting those bank statements. I was told they were going to be turned over on August 23rd. They weren't turned over on August 23rd. On August 25th, an email was sent to Town Hall by Mr. Cantwell saying that he had resigned from the Housing Authority, and therefore he no longer had access to the bank statements. Well, the state disagreed and ordered the town to turn the records over to me. And I did get bank statements. And the one I got with the MMDT was that on August 24th, all of the money was transferred out. $307,000 was transferred out to an account without a name on it, but I didn't know where that was. Now, what's the origin of that money? It says it's under the control of the Marshfield Housing Authority. Well, to give you a little history, back in 2008, when they were building the Winslow Woods Assisted Living, the big high building up behind Roach Brothers there, the developer wrote a check for $300,000 to the Marshfield Housing Authority. This is in 2008. And it was to the Marshfield Housing Authority. And the letter says this contribution may be used, well, they were getting some consideration. They were getting a variance to build a higher building. And they recognized that they didn't have any affordable units in that building. So they said that the $300,000 to the Marshfield Housing Authority may be used for the creation of affordable units in the town. There was, in other words, there were no strings attached. $300,000 in the control of the Marshfield Housing Authority, for the Marshfield Housing Authority to use it the way they want to use it.
Well,
May I?
May I?
I'm going to finish. The other account is based on in lieu of payments. If you're a developer and you want to build a subdivision in Marshfield,
Mr. Chairman,
And
we're giving false information to the residents, and we're representing, you're putting your own words on that letter. That letter does not say that the money is for the Marshfield Housing Authority.
Yes, it does.
Read me the section where it says it's for the Marshfield Housing Authority's discretionary fund.
It doesn't have to. In recognition of this need upon the issuance of building permits, we would like to make the voluntary contribution of $300,000 to the Marshfield Housing Authority. This contribution may be used, there's a little typo, a little grammatical,
But the
for the creation of affordable units in the town.
That's correct, but the Marshfield Housing Authority cannot build new units. So it's not permitted under law that the Marshfield Housing Authority
Well,
can build
that's
new housing units.
Right now, I'm just trying to identify where the money came from and where it went.
That money was for the Marshfield Housing Authority partnership, and that money was only being held by the Marshfield Housing Authority.
But there's no such thing as a Marshfield Housing Authority partnership.
They're
Those
not
are
Marshfield
two
Housing
different
Authority, it's
things.
Marshfield.
You misspoke.
Well, the two different
Much
ones.
different.
Now,
we're-
Monday, just
At
common
first-
practice in the state of Massachusetts and almost.
it's also
most
common
states.
practice that housing authorities under the law have the power to build and maintain affordable housing.
That's not true.
It's in right here in the law.
You have a set number of units that you're allowed. You are not allowed to develop new housing units in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts as a housing authority. You cannot exceed the number of units that you manage.
And how
The
many-
housing authority, the state is in the process of giving units away to the federal government because they do not have the budget to support affordable housing in housing authorities anymore. So what you're talking about is new housing units being developed under a nonprofit entity.
And maintenance, and remodeling.
You can't use CP. You
You
don't.
use CPC money already for generator
And you
projects.
have to apply to CPC, and it has to be a state-approved purpose for using those funds. Housing authorities cannot just
Okay.
accept a $300,000 donation from
Well,
CPC
they did.
and use it at their
They
discretion.
didn't accept it from CPC, they accepted
We were
accepted it from
holding
the
it
developer.
for them.
Right, no, you weren't holding it from
Joe,
CPC.
Joe.
So let me finish, Mr. Chairman, if I may. I'm trying to make a point here, and it's a very salient.
You lose, you're gonna talk your ear off.
But the point you're trying to make is not
I'm
accurate.
not finished. So anyway, so this letter says it was given to the Marshfield Housing Authority under their control. In lieu of payments, which are documented extensively in the Marshfield Town bylaws, say that if you're not, basically, if you're not applying, if you're not building affordable units in your subdivision or in your project, you can make it in lieu of payment to the Marshfield Housing Authority. And the Marshfield Housing Authority cooperates with the Marshfield Housing Partnership to determine how that money is to be used, as for example, with LIP projects. LIP is local initiative projects. So the Marshfield Housing Authority has control of this money, and in consultation with the Marshfield Housing Partnership and the Selectmen's housing plan, can determine where that money goes.
Joe, it's not true.
It's in the law.
It's not true.
It's black and
No,
white.
you're taking sections out
Okay.
of laws,
All right.
and sections
Look,
out of statements.
Mr. Chairman.
Let him speak.
Let me speak.
No,
Let me-
you've already had your chance.
No, I haven't, I'm not finished, I'm just about to finish. So my point is this, is that money was put into the control of the Marshfield Housing Authority. This one in particular had no strings attached. Now, I understand there may be some debate
How do you get no
about, may I
strings?
finish, please?
How do you get no
If-
strings
well,
attached for the purpose of
Because that's
developing
what
new
the letter
housing?
says.
Where does it say no strings?
It doesn't stipulate any strings, it says it may be used
For the purpose of creating new housing.
for the creation of, it may be used for the creation of affordable housing units. So, in my conclusion is this, is that the money collected by the in lieu of payments and the money given by this developer was put under the control of the Marshfield Housing Authority. You cannot, I do not, somebody needs to explain this to me.
We've been trying.
Actually, I think this is a matter for town
And
council.
this is a matter for town council, absolutely needs to be involved here. Because nobody had the right, especially given the way this was done. I was looking for bank statements. And while I'm waiting for the bank statements to come in, somebody apparently unilaterally transfers this to the town. Under an account that says Marshfield Housing Authority, it's now in an account, who knows who's controlling it, apparently the town administrator is controlling it. So that's my point, is that to transfer this money into an account, a different account, from a Marshfield Housing Authority account, without any discussion or consultation or voting, to me is outrageous.
But that
That's
was
money
discussed
for-
in town meeting, Joe.
When?
That was discussed in town
Which
meeting
town
and
meeting?
approved, the last one.
No. What happened at town meeting was that I had asked the town administrator about where funding was coming from for the housing trust. And he said he was told that the housing authority, that the executive director said, we don't want to hold this money. You can review it yourself. And then I had asked if Mr. Cantwell was available, and he was at the town meeting, and I asked the specific question. did the Marshfield Housing Authority vote to transfer any money to the Marshfield Affordable Housing Trust? And he said yes. Now, that's not true. It's nowhere on the agenda, it's nowhere in the minutes.
So, Joe, I think you're missing.
I'm not missing anything.
Well, you are. You weren't here for all of these discussions, and you were
I've
not
read all the
here.
minutes.
You were not here when the housing authority
Did you meet
went
with the
and
housing
met with
partnership?
the
Did you
Marshfield
meet-
Housing
did-
Authority.
Did you meet with the housing
I most
partnership?
certainly did, and I met with town
You were
manager.
scheduled to meet with them
I met with them.
earlier this year, and you did not show up.
That's not true, Joe.
It's in their minutes.
I'm gonna interrupt.
I did meet with them,
So-
and you know what, when you start making accusations
It's not
against
an
people,
accusation.
you should get your facts straight, you should know what you're talking about, because you don't know what you're talking
I
about.
do know what I'm
And it's
talking about.
getting to be like this
And this is
ongoing
the housing
thing,
authority.
they would make statements that aren't true.
This is all true. This is all black and white and true.
Joe, what you think is true and what is true are very, very different
But
from
I'm
each
reading
other.
from the
No, you
document
said
out
there's
of the
no
town's
strings
files.
attached, and it doesn't say that in the letter, Joe.
It says it
says
may
you're
be
creating
used.
new
It may
housing,
be used.
and the housing
But it
authority
doesn't
cannot create
specify.
new housing.
All right, and
It's within the powers of the housing authority to create housing. It's within the statutes to do
Really,
that.
call the HCD and find out if Marshfield Housing Authority can build new housing units, and you can bring it up at the next
But
meeting.
there's a lot of other things you can do with that money, and all that money has been transferred without any consultation or vote of the Marshfield
The
Housing
money
Authority.
was transferred after
And as you
lengthy
said-
discussions with
With
the
who?
Board of Commissioners.
With who?
The Board of Commissioners, many meetings.
Never.
the,
It's not in the minutes.
Joe, I'm gonna make a comment and then we're gonna end the discussion because we're not gonna finalize this tonight. But my comment is, I've been on the Housing Board of Commissioners of the Housing Authority for many years. I've been on the Marshfield Housing Partnership Committee as a member for many years. I've been on the CPC committee for many years. The funds that have been distributed, whether they be from developers, contractors, or any other source for payments in lieu of, have been given to the Marshfield Housing Partnership Committee, not to the MHA. The MHA has held those funds for the Marshfield Housing Partnership for many, many years because there was no other place that the town allowed them to be held. So the Housing Authority agreed to hold those funds. The Housing Authority, ever since I've been on the board, has never, ever voted to do anything with those funds, to spend them or to move them to another depository. It's always been the housing partnership.
Well, then,
Then, let me finish.
fine, that's fine.
The executive director of the Marshfield Housing Authority and myself met with the town administrator and discussed this. The executive director of the Marshfield Housing Authority met with the Marshfield Housing Partnership Committee and presented this exact topic. The Marshfield Housing Partnership Committee wanted those funds moved from the Marshfield Housing Authority because the Marshfield Housing Authority was told by their own accountant that they could no longer hold those funds. The executive director of the Marshfield Housing Authority told that to the town administrator. The town administrator then created an article for the town meeting about the trust. And the trust was approved at town meeting. After town meeting approved the trust, Kevin Cantwell, who used to serve as chair of the Marshfield Housing Authority, told the bank that it was okay to move the funds from the Marshfield Housing Authority account to the town account. And that's where it stands now. And that's where that $300 and some odd thousand that you're talking about is in the hands of the town. The next thing, before we'll end the discussion, if you would like, we will meet with the town administrator. He can determine whether or not he wants town council to attend that meeting. End of discussion. Next item on the agenda. Discussion on scheduling a joint meeting of the MHA Board of Commissioners and the Select Board of the Town of Marshfield on Tuesday, October 10, 2023, to recommend to the Select Board the appointment of John Daly to fill the vacancy on the Marshfield Housing Authority Board of Commissioners. Would anybody like to discuss that?
I won't be here
You won't be here on that
on
day.
that day.
I have a discussion point. They originally, this appeared on the selectmen's agenda for September 11th. They were going to appoint John Daly to the vacant seat. And I don't recall us talking about that. How did that get on the agenda for the select board?
I think that was an error that was put on the Select Board. I know no one, at least I did not ask the Select Board to put that on the agenda. And I'm assuming that no other commissioner asked it to be put on the agenda of the Select Board.
Can we ask the executive director to put on the agenda?
No.
Okay. Well, as far as filling the vacancy goes, it's in the regulations that govern the housing authority, that the vacancy has to be filled through a process, and it specifies the process. The town's bylaw also specifies the process, and the town's charter also specifies the process by which a vacancy on the housing authority is filled. And basically what it says, and I have copies if people need copies, is that the board meets, the housing authority meets, they then inform, after a meeting and discussion, they then inform the selectmen that we have a vacancy and would like you to fill it, would like it to be filled. The town then puts a public notice out for 14 days that there's a vacancy on the housing authority board, and then the selectmen meet with the housing authority board and vote jointly on a replacement. So that's the process, that's the law. And I called that to the attention of Mr. Maresco and Mr. Galvin, the town council, back on September 11th. And they then struck that item from their agenda. That's the process. I'm just saying that's the process. And that's the way the law is.
So I'm not, my question is, does it follow in sequence what you just stated? So after the MHA board discusses this, if they vote to bring it to the select board, does then the 14-day clock start, or the 14-day clock can start from the day of the vacancy?
Yeah, that's how it starts. You notify them, then the clock starts, and they have to put out a public notice. That, if you'd like that, Mr. Chairman, or the Secretary would like it, that's from the town charter and from Mass General Law, Chapter 41, Section 11. And the DHCD legislation is Chapter 121B, Section 5, talks about vacancies.
It says here, I'm just reading, the remaining, so it says the remaining members, meaning us, of the Board of Commissioners shall give written notice thereof within 1 month of said vacancy to the selectmen, who, with the remaining member or members of such board, shall, after 1 week's notice, fill such vacancy by roll call. The selectmen shall fill such vacancy if such board fails to give such notice within the time herein specified. The majority of the votes of the other officers entitled to vote shall be necessary to such election. I don't see anything about the 14 days.
It's under the town charter, the top.
Vacancies in town charter, vacancy, should a vacancy occur in any elected board, commission, or committee, such vacancy shall be filed or filled in accordance with the appropriate provisions of the general laws. all other boards and commissions. Should a vacancy occur in any elected office. Then it says, all other boards and commissions, no vacancy shall be filled until 14 days after public notice of such vacancy. So I'm not sure the 14 days applies to that, because should a vacancy occur in any elected office, boards, commissions, or committees, such vacancies shall be filled in accordance with the appropriate provisions of general laws, blah, 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 semicolon.
Yeah.
And then it goes on to
While
say,
reading that,
then it goes on to say, all other boards and commissions, no vacancy shall be filled until 14 days after public notice of such vacancy. So I'm not sure the 14-day clause applies to this elected board.
Right, it's saying follow chapter 41, section 11, it's saying to do that. But on top of that, it says don't fill it until 14 days after public notice.
I'm not sure I have to, I guess I have an attorney interpret that.
The first step anyway is for us to discuss.
Correct.
Sorry.
I believe if the board doesn't make a recommendation, the selectmen have the authority to appoint someone.
All right. Any other discussion?
Well, I would approve, John.
So, well, we have to get a motion then.
I don't think that's a voting article, though, and I don't, it's not a vote.
Well, I think we should make a motion that we're recommending to the board.
I make a motion, we recommend to the board, John Daly.
And I will second that.
Okay. Any discussion on that?
Well, I'm just gonna say I'm gonna vote no on it because, not because I've got anything against John Daly. And for one thing, it's not an issue to be voted on according to the agenda. And number two, as far as replacements for vacant seats, I think that Mr. Daly served like 11 years. And I'm just a person that's always in favor of, fresh blood and trying to encourage other people to get on boards.
So there's a motion on the floor, it's been seconded, and the motion is to recommend to the select board to appoint John Daly to fill the vacancy on the Marshfield Housing Authority Board of Commissioners. We'll do a roll call.
Helen Bennett, yes.
Cecilia Delgadillo, yes.
Joe Pasevich, no.
Terry Richardson, yes. Item number 10.
Would you like the ED to prepare a letter to the town?
Say that again.
Would you like the ED to prepare a letter to the town?
Yes,
Yes, please.
Please.
yes, please. And thank you.
And then, so that, on the agenda, it says that we are recommending to the select board for their meeting on October 10th. So that it could be an item on the select board's agenda on October 10th. They'll have to decide whether or not it'll be on their agenda. Next item, number 10, discussion on public housing notices. Do each of the commissioners receive these notices directly from EOHLC via email? Let's ask each commissioner, do you,
I received some stuff by email, yes.
is it public housing notices?
From the DHCD, I have in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't received anything from EO.
EOHL.
Yeah.
Okay,
I've received maybe two
two.
since May. And that's it.
And I think
There is,
have only been two.
there is a page where you can go to where you can see the PHNs,
Right.
And, but I don't think, I know I'm not getting a regular PHN as they're issued. I think that when I looked at the total list of PHNs, I said, yeah, I didn't get that one, but I got two others. So it's been, I guess you could say, inconsistent.
So you've seen PHNs issued since May that are in excess of the number 2?
No, just 2, I believe.
So,
I think I copied one that I did get, but it's not important. The point is, I think I've seen, when I looked at the PHNs I had received in my email,
all right,
and I looked at the master list of PHNs, there were some missing,
there was some missing since you've been appointed to the commission.
since I was elected.
Would you then please just ensure that
I believe it's a service that you sign up for.
should be,
I was told I was gonna get them.
I
When I was communicating with the DHCD at the time, they said you'd be getting PHNs.
would you just check the process to see if we need to, as individuals, or if the housing authority can do it on our behalf? Thank you.
Yes.
Item number 11, discussion on accepting monthly agenda items from individuals on the Board of Commissioners. How far in advance do commissioners need to send in suggested agenda items to the chairperson? I would like to receive them at least a week before our posted or our projected meeting date.
Okay.
Is that
That's fine with
acceptable
me.
to all the
Yeah.
commissioners?
I agree with that, unless something comes up unexpected.
Right,
As long as the agenda's posted 48 hours before
right.
the meeting.
As I know, on some committees, they actually put an agenda item in there that if something comes up within 48 hours, which is after the posted date of the agenda, that the chairperson can bring it up. And we may want to start to put that on our own agenda, so that if something does come up, it can then be placed on the agenda, at the meeting. Next item, item 12, a discussion on how each commissioner, or has each commissioner, certified that they have received a copy of the open meeting law. And there is I brought it with me. Has everybody signed the form? Somewhere in here it is. It looks like this.
Actually, you can do that electronically. Because I went through the training online.
It's on training online.
I know, I got the copy. I'll make sure I get a copy of that,
If we could-
if it hasn't been signed. and sent
Maybe
in.
for next meeting, maybe we'll make a copy.
Yeah, make sure that
Each of the commissioners can sign it. Item B of 12, this is really a question, how Board of Commissioners interact with the Executive Director via phone call, email, or in person. My personal opinion as acting chair is that if any commissioner is going to make a phone call to the executive director, email the executive director, or have a meeting with the executive director in person, that it first go through the chair, so that the chair and that individual commissioner can discuss what the individual commissioner would like to discuss with the executive director. Because it may be that the chairperson has already discussed that particular item with the executive director and can inform the commissioner. And if the commissioner is satisfied with what the chair has already discussed with the executive director, then there would be no need for the commissioner to contact the executive director. So I'd like to make it just as a normal practice that any phone calls, emails, or individual discussions by a commissioner first go through the chair of the Marshfield Housing Authority. Any discussion on that?
How would you like it done? Phone call, email?
I mean, no matter how you want it done. If you want to pick up the phone and call the executive director first.
No, how do you want us to contact you?
Oh.
That's what I was asking.
Contact me, thank you. Any way you want to.
Okay.
I think it's important for us to do that.
And I may, if it's a lengthy topic and we're talking about it by phone, I may ask you to email it,
Okay.
so I can digest it. Any other discussion on that?
I think on a couple of specific instances, it's already been established that if I want to see the invoices, for example, as we talked about, that all I had to do was to send the executive director an email and have him set up with his staff a time to do that.
Yeah, that's fine.
And the same thing with regards to, like, we got a note at the back of our package from, is it Terry? On finances, that if we had any questions, to get in contact.
With Grace.
Great.
Grace, sorry, yeah, Grace.
Can I add that the chair should be CC'd on any emails such as that, asking Grace or, looking at invoices? I think the chair should be aware of any of our contacts.
You know about that. So that's, everybody should be in the loop.
Yeah.
All right, great, thank you.
I think that, Mr. Chairman, I think that would also be helpful for the request for information from board members when it comes for a request for information. I think it would be helpful if that went through the chair, so that the rest of the board knew what was going on,
I agree.
especially when it comes from a board member and not the public.
Agreed.
Is that something we're going to vote?
I don't think we need
I think
to
that was just
vote
Just
on
a
that. I think
conversation.
it's in the
just a
minutes.
conversation.
It's-
Is the executive director referring to any in particular request for information? I mean, I think if we want to have information, like see the invoices and all that, yeah, I really think the chair should be in the loop, absolutely. If not the primary contact. But, if there are things, like I've had to make public information requests.
As a board member, those are.
So, if you're a board member and to make a public information request, I think the chair should be aware of that.
Oh, you can, yeah, I'll definitely CC you on that. But there's just some things that I've had a hard time getting a hold of, so. And I'm kind of like wondering what to do. For example, I've been trying to get a copy of the contract between Marshfield Housing Authority and the Quincy Housing Authority. And I've asked for that several times. And in fact, you, Terry, wrote on September 11th, please provide the commissioners with an electronic copy of the current management agreement. Some commissioners may not have been on the board when this was signed. So you made the request, I made the request, and I still haven't gotten it. The only thing I received was the initial contract in 2020. And that's like 2.5 pages. I'm looking for the current agreement, and I have not received it yet. And I'm at my wit's end because I even had to do a public records request, and I'm still waiting for that.
I'll address that. So, I'll apologize for that as vice chair of the MHA. That contract was approved, I'm trying to remember the exact date, but it was approved in I think it was December 7th, 2021, if I remember right, meeting to extend the contract for 5 years. And it was extended by a vote of 3-1. I personally was not at that meeting, but 4 other commissioners were. There was a quorum, and it was approved. There was an executive session in November, and I believe the date was November 7th, if I remember right, at which I don't know if I was present, or if I was not present. But at that session, there was a discussion about the contract, and the session ended saying there would be no vote taken during executive session, but the vote would be taken at the next board meeting. And that's when it was voted that the contract would be extended by a vote of 3-1. So there is a vote. It is in the minutes of the December
2020, I believe it was 2020.
2020, December 2020 minutes. And unfortunately, that was during COVID. And this meeting was conducted via Zoom. And unfortunately, that contract was signed, but it was never forwarded from the Marshfield Housing Authority to the Quincy Housing Authority. So that, we do have to get the Housing Authority in Quincy to sign it, because it does need that approval.
It's been signed and submitted to the state.
Okay, so it has been signed now by the Quincy Housing Authority. It also needs the approval of DHCD. Since it was not signed by the Quincy Housing Authority, it had never been forwarded to DHCD for approval. So that's where it stands now. That's why you do not have a copy of it. That's why I do not have a copy of it. And that's why no other board commissioner has a copy of that particular management agency. We do have a copy of the prior agreement. If I'm correct, and correct me if I'm wrong, the prior agreement basically has the same language in the agreement that had been extended for 5 years by board vote. So we're operating under the same agreement, same language. It was never officially signed by all of the parties that officially had to sign it. And we will, once DHCD approves it, a copy will be given to every commissioner. I don't know how long it's going to take DHCD to sign it.
I can send you a copy tomorrow without their signature on it.
Okay.
And also, Mr. Chairman, I had asked for other agreements and contracts, including the wage agreements that were talked about and voted on by this board.
Those should be in your minutes.
Yeah.
Those should be in your minutes.
The way to,
Yeah, those are part of the minutes.
I looked at the minutes and I didn't see any specific wage agreements, so I need to get a vote.
you mean in the board package tonight, James?
No, those are in past board minutes.
Board, past board minutes?
So the board voted on them. They were provided all the wage rates.
All I can say is I looked, and there's notation that a vote was taken, but there's no actual contract or agreement.
I can send you a copy of the minutes. I can send you a copy of that vote with the copy that was provided to the board at that time.
Okay,
And it probably was not included in the minutes.
all right. Anything else that you requested?
No, that's, like I said, all agreements and contracts.
When you say all agreements and contracts?
Right. That includes wage agreements, billing agreements, and such, as mentioned.
Are you familiar with when the commissioner asked he would like a copy of all agreements and contracts?
There only is one agreement. It's the management agreement.
I think the board voted on a wage agreement.
The board voted on the wages, which is the prevailing wage plus the cost of benefits.
Right.
You voted on the actual price because if you remember
It
correctly,
went up.
well, no, the Quincy Housing Authority gave a discounted rate of a flat $55 an hour, which was about half of what the actual rates are for the first 3 or 4 years of the agreement, because Marshfield was in such bad condition and because they needed so much work done, they couldn't afford to have all the work done that needed to be done. So the Quincy Housing Authority gave a discounted rate on the work for the first 4 years so that the work would be done to bring the portfolio up to the current position that it is in.
Were you aware of that?
I read that there was a change in the rate. There was an agreement
There
rate.
was a change in the
But
rate.
if it's been
Yeah, there was a change in.
memorialized in some way, that's would be an agreement.
There was a change in the rate due to the fact that the Quincy Housing Authority could no longer afford to give the Marshfield Housing Authority a 50% discount in the rate.
Well, makes me welcome anything I can get.
And just a side note, if James, if you could ask the Quincy Housing Authority to put on their next agenda that I would like to attend their meeting,
Sure.
and if any other board commissioners would, I would like to go and thank them for
Sure.
what they accomplished with us.
I can do that.
Next item on the agenda is 12C, when we will conduct our annual review of the bylaws and the policies and procedures. And it's up to the commissioners, but we are obligated to review them on an annual basis. And I'm not sure how many policies and procedures we actually have, but there's an abundance of them.
Yes.
They're all actually on your website.
So we do have to review those. I am not familiar, so this is a question. Are we as commissioners allowed to review them on the website and then come into a board meeting and then discuss them
I
rather than
don't see
review
why
each
not. You're not
one?
deliberating. You're able to read them off of the website just like anybody else would be able to. And then review them. Typically, the policies you wouldn't really change unless we bring a change on that specific policy. So the policies are in place and they're enforced. So those would typically change when we bring a change forward. But your bylaws, certainly you can review those. Those haven't been reviewed in quite some time.
All right. Would all the commissioners agree to reviewing them on the website?
I do.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll look at it.
So would,
Which website are they on?
so what,
Marshfield Housing Authority.
.com?
MarshfieldHA.com.
Yeah, marshfieldha.com.
.ha.com,
so would you then make a list of all the policies and procedures? So at the next meeting, we can decide which ones we're going to review over the next 30 days, and then discuss at the following meeting, and continue doing that over the next several months. And then the same thing, the bylaws are on the website.
No, maybe they're not. I don't think the bylaws are, they haven't been updated in forever. I mean, typically that's the board that updates those.
Right. So if we could bring a copy for all the commissioners to the next meeting of the bylaws, we'll put that on the agenda for the November meeting. We'll review the bylaws,
So you want the bylaws in your packages?
please. Or
Is there a
even
digital version?
if there's an
I don't think so.
No.
could you,
They were prior to us.
Yeah, we may have to
can
call
you
the
make
state.
a copy and then email them to everybody? And that way we'll have more time than just, we'll have, a few weeks to review them.
Mhm.
Yeah, we have to call the state.
Yeah, those are their board bylaws, so they may be, we may have to get them from the HCD.
Yeah.
I haven't seen them.
We haven't seen them.
It's about time that we review it.
Okay. Any other discussion on that? Item 13, any other old or new business?
I have a comment, if I may. And I understand that, I was kind of flabbergasted as to how much paper we received for this particular meeting. Is there any way that we could cut down on, for example, maybe just a link to the wage match? Or, I mean, having everything printed out was,
I have a couple of housing authorities that receive this package by email, and they don't receive the
yeah,
paper
I
copy.
just find
But that's, that's up to the board.
it's, I find that this is not only, it's not even the paper at this point, but this is money that could be spent elsewhere
Mhm.
in a better way. I understand there might be some of us that feel a need for it, but for the ones that don't, such as myself, I would prefer to have it electronically. I could make notes on my copies as well, rather than having
So,
a big
Yeah,
packet.
I'll leave that up to each of the commissioners, but let's decide tonight how you would like to receive the board package.
I guess I could do it online. But I actually go through the stuff. I'm much better with paper. I go through it, went through it last night.
So which would you
I would
prefer
prefer
paper?
the packet. I'm sorry, but
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I'm just saying that, it just was a lot. I would prefer it electronically if possible, but I don't want to make more work. If I'll be the only one electronically, that's not fair to anybody else.
I will say that this is an unusual
It is
unusual.
package. Your
Because
package
of
is
that
not
wage
usually this big.
I know.
We had a lot of information with this,
Can,
the grant application in here and
That wage match.
the wage match requirement from the DHCD, which is actually new. There's
yeah,
a lot in here that you wouldn't typically be receiving, so.
could we do like maybe the large packages, like the wage match
Yep.
paperwork? Maybe that should be in a link instead of printing out
Mhm.
40 papers,
Yeah.
pages of that. I'm fine with a happy medium, but
Yeah, we can try to
just,
scale down and send you electronic versions of the ones that are really big.
I still want paper across the board.
I would prefer paper because I want to keep a record of everything.
No problem.
Any other old or new business? Okay, hearing none, go on to item 14 for the executive director's report.
Mr. Chairman, we got a cookout for the residents for the meet and greet. We did a hot water replacement at 30 Old Colony Road. We completed the fire inspection to T-Rock Gardens and Grace Rider. We had a transmission line go on the MHA truck, which was replaced. We still have the ongoing of the common area painting and the exterior painting of the entry areas. We did a food delivery to all the residents here, the typical monthly Greater Boston Food Bank delivery, and we submitted the HILAP application to DHCD.
I'd like to congratulate you again on no vacancies.
yeah, we actually
Well,
got
we-
two.
We just got.
We got two on Sunday.
We just got two turned into us this week, so we have two new ones.
Should that be filled?
Okay. Any other business?
What's the other one?
Hearing none, I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting at 6:18 PM.
I'll second that.
All those in
All in
favor?
favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Motion carried.